for any, we're recording it for anyone who wants to, who isn't able to attend, but who wants to see it later. So I see many familiar faces, but I see a few newcomers as well. So let me give you a little bit of background about the Stoneham CDC. And Nathan, actually, I think we can stop screen sharing. We're okay to do that just for a moment. I like to see faces too. So the Stoneham CDC is a grassroots, all-volunteer organization. We're managed by a board of directors, and we have a lot of active volunteers and members. We started off as the Stoneham Square Neighborhood Group and Transportation Advisory Committee, which grew out of the Stoneham Square Action Plan that took place back in 2014. In 2017, we incorporated as a nonprofit, and we did that for a couple of reasons. The most important being that we could then fundraise to make these great projects happen. And the second is that it gave us an organizational structure that ensured some long-term sustainability for the organization. Today, we also serve as the parent organization or sort of fiscal sponsor for several other initiatives. That includes STAC, the Stoneham Transportation Advisory Committee, Explore Stoneham, which is an active website, events newsletter, and Facebook page, and Stoneham Reads, our newest project, which you'll hear more about later in the meeting tonight. The vision of the Stoneham CDC is to make Stoneham a safer, cleaner, more beautiful, and even greater place to live. And one of the ways that we do this is that we act as an intermediary within the community by providing a platform for people to suggest, sponsor, and learn about projects. And then we help them bring these projects to fruition. So some of our past projects include the custom bike racks in front of the Stoneham Public Library and the custom bike racks on the Stoneham Town Common, the picnic areas on the Tri-Community Greenway. We've done a number of film screenings at the Greater Boston Stage Company, as well as Town Hall, and of course, the Taste of Stoneham in 2019. Our newest project just launched in April of this year is Stoneham Reads. Stoneham Reads is a community reading program to build connections for the people of Stoneham, one book at a time. And if you're not yet familiar with that project, I'd encourage you to go on our website, stonehamcdc.org, to read about it. There's a lot of great programming happening around it. And the book groups are actually going to be starting up, I think, next week. So it's a good time to learn about it and get involved. So the success of the Stoneham CDC completely depends on contributions of time, expertise, and money from many people in our community. So I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce the other board members who are here with us tonight. We have Jessica Chasse, our vice president. We have Lauren Murphy, who is our secretary. We have Nathan Kuntz, who is our newest board member. He joined us in December of last year. We have Lori Calvert, who is also our STAC facilitator. And Mike Brattina, who I think will be joining us a little bit later this evening, is our treasurer. I also see some of our Stoneham Reads committee members and STAC members on here. I wanted to thank everyone who is a member of the CDC, but also give a special shout out to our newest members, those who've joined this year. And I'll ask Nathan to put up a slide with those folks. So these are new individual and family members and new organizational members. So your membership dues are critical to helping us both run the organization and bring these great projects to fruition. So thank you for your support and your investment of money and time in the Stoneham CDC. If you're not already a member, I encourage you to visit our website or to email membership@stonehamcdc.org, where on the other end, you'll meet Nathan and Lauren, our membership committee, and they'll tell you more about becoming a member. So now I'll quickly kind of go over the plan or agenda for tonight's meeting. So first, we're going to hear from Steve Angelo, the director of Stoneham Recreation, who's going to talk to us both about what his department does and the great project they're doing at the Steel Playground. And then we'll talk with him about the Stoneham CDC's project to partner with the town to renovate the Capon Street tot lot. There'll be plenty of time for questions and answers at the end of that about all of those topics. From there, we will hear from Lori Calvert, who's going to tell us about STAC, or the Stoneham Transportation Advisory Committee, and some work happening around more bike and pedestrian advocacy in the town of Stoneham. And that'll lead into another project, which is led by Nathan Kuntz and Mike Bertina, which is the Stoneham Bike Weekend planned for fall of 2021. After that, we'll open it up for you to tell us about your ideas and feedback on those projects and new ideas you have for projects of the Stoneham CDC. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Steve Angelo, who is our Stoneham Recreation Director, a great partner of the Stoneham CDC, and I'll let him tell us about some of the work he's doing, and then we'll talk about the Capon Street project.
Well, Jenny, first of all, I want to thank you for using a picture from about 10 years ago on the slide. I really appreciate that. I feel like I've aged quite a bit since that picture was taken, but I said I do appreciate it. So my name's Steve Angelo. I've been the recreation director here in Stoneham now for 5 years. I said there was no actually department here 5 years ago when I came on board. I said, and I kind of have my hands involved with a little bit of everything. I said, I run all the programming. I am a one-man department in Stoneham Recreation Department. I said, and my goal is always to get people involved, regardless of their age, I said, or their interest in getting involved with some programs. Another big venture and vision that I've had since I began Stoneham 5 years ago is to look into some long-term planning for a lot of our playgrounds and all of our athletic facilities we have here in town. I said, I know that a lot of them need some TLC. They were neglected for quite a long time. I said, I'm the first to be the one to admit it. I said, but I will say that I said, being able to work with the CDC and being able to work with a lot of different groups, I said, in terms of trying to find some long-term planning to be able to get these updates that are very needed, has been a great opportunity for me. I said, especially with the fact that I just love the fact that Stoneham has so many people who just want to jump in and really kind of help out and make Stoneham a better place. And I said, for me, I said, I wouldn't be able to do what I do without that support from everybody. So and thank you to everyone on this call. I said, anyone who might be watching this after as well. I said, it's very much appreciated from me. So just to kind of start off, I said, I know that the playground is kind of the big topic, I said, for a lot of the conversation here today. I said, and a lot of the work that we're doing right now, I said, is stemming from the 2018 Open Space and Rec Plan, which was committed. I said, and we completed that, throughout 2017, it was completed in June 2018. I said, and it kind of gave us a vision for what the people here in Stoneham really wanted from our recreational facilities, whether it be passive, active. I said, and kind of where we really should be utilizing all of our efforts and energy, I said, towards making things better, I said, for everybody. And luckily enough, I said, with getting that open space and rec plan completed, I said, it actually opened us up to be able to apply for several state grants, I said, that we weren't able to apply for several years before that. I said, and in 2019, we were awarded the park grant through the Division of Conservation Services through the state for $100,000 to really start to spearhead the Steel Playground project. I said, we've also been supported by our capital committee as well, who was contributing to the project, I said, to really make that a reality. And it's something that really needed to be done. And the reason why we picked Steel Playground, I said, is because of that plan. I said, they really said that they wanted us to update what we have existing before we start to look into new parks and new projects, because everything needs to be updated. And Steel Playground was the most utilized playground according to that plan. So I said it allowed for us to really put a very compelling proposal in front of the state. And I said, luckily enough, we were able to be awarded that grant. As you can tell now, we're already in 2021. I said, we are finally breaking ground and finally getting going. So it is a long process. I said, I appreciate everyone's patience. I said, as much as we had the grant for 2 years, it's just the logistics behind getting it done and doing it the right way is very important to me. And I'm very excited to say that hopefully by the end of next month, we are back open and ready for everyone to enjoy. I said, and the great thing about this playground is the fact that it is going to be ADA compliant. I said, for a state-owned, a town-owned as a playground, it's actually our first that we've done in over 30 years. I said, and it's a project that is near and dear to my heart because I said, it's something that I really like to see progress, and I'd love to see evolution. I'd love to kind of see us get out with the times a little bit. And it just offers so much in terms of new equipment, but I said we're still able to utilize some of the equipment that was donated to the old playground. So we'll have some old nostalgic feel to it. I said we're bringing back the tire swings. We have some riders. As you can see, it's a little bit of a mess right now, but I said the weather's been pretty cooperative. I said, but minus the snow a couple of weeks ago, I said that almost gave me a heart attack. I said when I started coming down and accumulating, but I said hopefully we will have all the equipment up and running in 2 weeks. I said we'll have all rubberized surfacing down around the playground area, which will make us compliant. And I said hopefully by that last week of May, I said we'll be able to open up and we are ready to go for the summer of 2021, which will be exciting. And then hopefully we are able to transition this into putting another proposal together for possibly another park or another type of athletic field. I said another athletic field or another type of proposal in front of the park committee. I said to hopefully get some additional funding for a project for next year. I said, and we have a couple of different ideas that we have in play for that right now. I said, I know there's been some talk about trying to look in some athletic fields. I said, I might be trying to do another playground. What we really do from my standpoint, as I work very closely with the director of community, of course, I've got Erin's title, it's so long, but because she is great. I said, we work very closely together. We have offices right next to each other, and we really look at projects that we can do in town that are strong proposals with the state to be able to attain money whenever we possibly can. Because unfortunately, I said, everything comes down to finances, and I said, everyone's kind of chasing after the same money in town. And I said, we're just trying to find different alternative ways to be able to do these updates. I said, and be able to work with the state to possibly come in and kind of do those as well. And I said, hopefully, I said, fingers crossed. I said, we've had a couple proposals for, say, Arsenal Playground down at Rec Park, I said, which is right by the Boys and Girls Club, which have not been approved over the last couple of years. So even though we do succeed in some of these projects, we have been making a lot of efforts behind the scenes to try to make some other updates, which have not been as successful, unfortunately. And I said, that's why we're just going to keep trying. I said that I'm one of those people. I said, any type of opportunity I can get to kind of put something in and hopefully make stuff better here for the town, that's my goal at all times. So, and I know I talk very, very quickly. I said, it's something I've tried to work on for years and years. And so I said, if anyone has questions, I said, you can always email me as well. I'm right in the recreation department. I said, if you have specific questions, I said, I'm always open to any feedback or any kind of questions. I said, I can also go through the chat probably later on as well. I said, to kind of follow up to people if they want to give me their emails to be able to kind of anything specific. I said, we'll also open it up here. But, and then I know that I was talking with Jenny about this, geez, a couple months ago now, if time's flying by. I said, in terms of trying to find other projects to work on. And the Capon Street Playground, I said, right over at the Palmworth Fields has always been a project that I said, for me, I've always loved to get some updates on. I said, it is a playground that is in desperate need of repair. I said, and I think that it's something that it is a great access because we do have the Greenway right there. I said, we have the housing authority right there. We have fields that kids utilize on a nightly basis. We have the basketball courts there. It's just an untapped potential, I said, that we have. And really, I just think that from a priority standpoint is something that we can attain in an easier case than some other projects that we might have going on there down the road. But it doesn't mean that we're just turning a blind eye to any project. I said, that's one of my biggest strengths and biggest weaknesses at the same time is I'm a dreamer. I'm someone who really thinks that we can really get a lot of things done. I said, in a short period of time. And I said, and I'm one of those people, I don't try to prioritize projects. I try to take projects on as I think they're attainable. I said, and if Capon Street is that next park, I said, I would love to see that. It's a nice little tot lot in a nice neighborhood over there. And it's something that I think that would be a great addition to the experience of going on the Greenway. I said, in the experience of being at the Palmworth Parks and having lacrosse practices and having young kids be able to utilize it and just really enhance that area itself. So, and I know that the CDC has been great about with getting the picnic tables and stuff over in that area as well, and really trying to experience the wholesome environment that can have to offer. I said, I have had Little Tykes, who's actually doing the work on our steel playground, has gone over to, I said, the Capon Street Park with me. I said, while they were on site, just do a quick walkthrough of the facility and try to get some ballpark numbers and see what some of the potential might be to make that, once again, an ADA compliant playground, which it currently is not. I said, it's another important project for me. I said, but keeping it within kind of the same design, because I do like the design that's out there right now. I do like the simplicity of it. I think that it fits that area very well. I said, and being able to look at some options with having some companion swings and having a new structure and having some new riders and being able to utilize the passive recreation space, which people actually utilize for fitness classes and stuff at the moment as well. I said, just really to be able to get an update over there. And I said, financially, I said, it's not inexpensive. I'll be the first to tell you. I said with anything ADA compliant, I said, in terms of surfacing, the surfacing is very expensive. I said, and that's where a lot of people are actually shocked. I said, when they actually look in the fact that like for a steel playground, I surfacing alone without any equipment was well over $100,000. I said, just to put that, I said, compliant surfacing in, but I said, it's a safety thing as well. I said, we want to make sure that any park that we put into anywhere here in Stoneham, I said, is something that's going to be safe. And we want to do it right. And I said, I want to make sure that if we're putting together, I said, playgrounds and stuff, it's something that the community is really going to enjoy. And I said, hopefully, I said, that is a project that we can kind of push forward. I said, I know I've been working with our town administrator about some different opportunities to be able to do that. I said, luckily enough, he said his kids have actually utilized the playground a couple times and he sees the love that it kind of needs to get. And I said, I think that is a possibility, especially with capital. Unfortunately, we weren't able to obtain any capital money this year due to financial limitations, but I think that next year, or with hopefully the help of some sponsors, I said we can do a collaborative effort to get that updated and then really start to look at it as like I have a 5 to 10 year plan where I would love to see all the playgrounds here in town and within the schools, I said, and working with the school department to get all those updated and make them at the level that I think the community deserves. So at this time, I said, I can talk for hours upon end. I said, if anyone does have any questions, I said, and you want to ask while I'm here, I said, if you don't want to email and want to talk about it, I said, I'm more than happy to take any questions from anyone. So.
I think this is a good time for us if you want to put some questions in chat. Steve, I had a couple of thoughts. We can share the number, the estimate that Little Tykes came back to us with for the full project.
So I believe it was about 73,000, if I remember off the top of my head.
I think it was a little bit above 75,000, which was a bit of a sticker shock for me. But I was wondering, since I'm unmuted here, I wanted to ask you what is the life on an ADA compliant surface?
I said, really, what you're talking about, 20 years? I said, they can be. I said, with like the rubberized surfacing, it can be repaired. Mm-hmm. And the way that I have it designed in steel, I said, is so it has cutouts. So it's not just a full surface where like if there's a hole in it, so like at the bottom of the slides there are cutouts. So those anything that is going to have excessive wear and tear, you can design your surfacing to be able to be replaced on a regular basis. So anything that will get beaten up a little bit more, mm-hmm. I said can get replaced. So it helps to increase the longevity of that surfacing.
There's some good questions here in the chat right now from Robert Paul. What is the process from start to finish? How many rounds of approvals? What does ADA compliant mean? I think that's actually maybe a good one.
So the ADA compliant is the American with Disabilities Act. I said, so it is basically handicap compliant for people with physical or sensory, I said, disabilities. I said to allow for them to have an all-inclusive playground. I said that is something that for any project that I do here in town is very important to make. I said, especially because you have people with disabilities you can see and people with disabilities you can't see, and making sure that we develop playgrounds that offer an enjoyable experience for everyone is extremely important. I guess let's see what else we got. What is the process from start to finish? Robert, so are we talking about the park project? Or so what type of process are we going to be talking about?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have been more clear. Really just, so for the Capon Street project, given that it hasn't been started, I mean, I imagine there's, a planning phase and then an approval phase and then a bidding phase and then another approval phase and all that. So that's sort of what I was curious about.
So it all depends on wherever the funding will come from. I said it's a little bit different if it's coming from the state as opposed to coming from, say, our capital committee here within town. I said the capital committee, the money gets released a little bit earlier. I said it has a little less strings attached to it in terms of follow up with the state. But I said I would say that the turnaround time for it is probably around a year. I said if we were actually going to go through the funding process, the planning process. I said, I'd like to try to get committees together for some of that planning. I said, that proposal that we put together on the screen is just kind of a rough draft, as I would say, I just kind of visualize exactly what it could be. I said, and then if there's possibilities of adding or doing additional stuff or changing it, I said, I tried to get some feedback. I said, we always have it at the open space and rec meetings, which are held on every, it's the second Wednesday of every month. They haven't had one since for a while now, I said, because of all the COVID restrictions, but I know there's one this week, and it's always a standing item that I always invite everyone to go to. I said, and it is an open meeting to anybody here in town. I said, who wants to get some feedback on projects and stuff. And that's a nice way of really getting momentum behind the projects. So I said, once again, that committee reports directly to the town administrator with recommendations. I said, along with my proposals, I said, I think that's a really good start, especially if it's going in front of state capital. But I said, all in all, I said, it could be 8 months, it could be a year, as I said, but like with the park project, obviously COVID kind of threw a loop into everything. I said with that, it probably would have been done a little bit earlier. I said, but I would say probably about a year is really a safe estimate of what it would take for a turnaround for that.
So if we're looking at, just a comment on that from the CDC's perspective, we're looking at, as this is a project as partial private fundraising. So looking from private foundations, corporate sponsors, individual donations, community fundraising, but with potentially in collaboration with the town, like through a capital committee would, so I think in terms of the funding on that, the approvals would be a little bit different because private fundraising would be less restrictive.
Correct.
And then it would be more
100%. So I said, if there were donations made directly through the CDC, I said, as part of a collaborative effort or a whole effort or wherever we were lucky enough to get the funding from, I said, it really would kind of change things. And that's where it's a really tough question to answer because not knowing where the funding is definitely coming from at the moment, I don't want to say, oh, it's going to be 6 months or it could be, I said, because all our turnaround time, once we actually order equipment, it's 8 weeks for us to get equipment in from final design. The design process takes about a month. I said, so installation, like you could really expedite it and have it done 6 to 7 months, but I like to be concerned.
A large amount of money to raise too, so I don't want to get too far ahead of us on that. But
I'm talking more from the actual the actual construction standpoint of it.
So not to interrupt, Betty had a good question about the shade trees at Steel Playground. What's the plan with those?
So the shade trees, so the big trees over at Steel Playground, we had to take 2 trees down as part of this project due to safety concerns. Our tree warden here in town actually did inspections of the trees before we started the project. And he deemed that there was one in the corner over by the police parking lot, which was in disrepair. And then there was another one of the larger trees, I said, which had what he called frost heaves in the middle of them, which unfortunately were very dangerous in terms of if we ever got a significant storm, there was a good possibility that I said that we could have lost limbs and we could have actually had the tree come down. And I said, so from a safety purpose from the children's standpoint and from the equipment standpoint, he made the suggestion and recommendation to the Conservation Commission and to the town administrator to have those removed. All the other trees that are up there are staying. I said that was something that was very important in the project for me. I said is because I know what type of, let's say, I said they really are the heart and soul of that playground. I say having the shade and being able to work around it, and that's why we did the design the way we did, was to be able to work around the trees to make sure there was in shade as much as possible, because it just makes for a better experience for everyone. Because anyone who's gone to a playground that's in the middle of a field somewhere knows how hot that surfacing can get, how that all the equipment can get. And I said we just wanted to try to keep it as shaded as possible. And I'm gonna say, will the big slide stay or is it going away? So all the equipment that was out there other than our 2 riders and the bulldozer, which were donated by Stoneham Bank, I said, before, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago now, every single piece of equipment will be removed. It was a safety call, I said, when we did everything to update all the equipment, so. Any other questions? No, and it's like I've told everyone as well. I said, please feel free to reach out to me. I said, I'm always happy to take emails. I send phone calls. I said, if you just want to, if you have any type of ideas or like any kind of wishes or anything, I said, I have one of those open door policies where I said, I just would rather hear the feedback and try to be proactive in getting stuff done And once again, I work a lot off of that open space and rec plan, but that was done in 2018. It's 2021 now. Things might have changed. I said, and people's views might change a little bit. So I said, any type of feedback I can get from the community to better serve everyone and try to work to making a better environment for our kids, especially with the playgrounds. I said, I'm more than willing to assist. So.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you for all that you're doing for the town of Stoneham and for those great updates. And I wanted to let folks know about what the next steps will be from the CDC's perspective on this project. So today we have an estimate and a potential site plan for the Capon Street tot lot. I think our next steps will be looking more detail at that and starting to put together a fundraising plan. So we're seeking volunteers to help us see this effort through. So things that we will be focusing are fundraising through private sources. So that can be through writing grants, securing corporate sponsorships, private fundraising, and maybe around organizing events to fundraise. And then there's also the visibility and promotion of the project. So word of mouth, getting out and talking to community members, getting them to support it, helping out on social media, meeting the people in the neighborhood, the abutters, neighbors, talking to sponsors, and then some potential representation at community events like Town Day, and hopefully maybe doing something at the opening of Steel Playground if it's possible at that time. So if you're interested, a couple of you've mentioned already in chat, but if you're interested, let us know tonight in chat. We'll be saving it and follow up with you, or email us at info@stonehamcdc.org and just let us know that you're interested in being involved, and we'll send you more details about the next steps of that committee. Any other questions about that right now? About Capon Street? So I think we're going to move to Lori, who's going to tell us about STAC and the Stoneham Transportation Advisory Committee. I'll turn it over to her.
Great, thank you. Feel free to bring up any of the PowerPoints just in case if there's meeting information on those. I have some notes here that I'll be working off of, but I have to say Steve is a hard act to follow, so please don't judge. So I'm Lori Calvert, and I facilitate the monthly and ongoing Stoneham Transportation Advisory Committee meetings. We meet the first Thursday of every month from 8 to 9:30. In these COVID times, we are meeting via Zoom. If you are not on our email list and you are interested in at least being on the email list, where we talk about ongoing initiatives or upcoming meetings or agenda items, you can either email me at stack@stonehamcdc.org or just put your email in the chat and we'll be sure to capture that and add you to the list. There's no spamming, there's no, there are not, 4 times a week emails. It's really just about the ongoing activities or initiatives that we're pushing forward. So the STAC is, that's how we refer to ourselves. We are a grassroots, all volunteer working committee. We advocate for safe, equitable, and reliable transportation for all who live, work, play, and learn in Stoneham. The origins of this group date back, I think 6 years to 2015. There's a couple of familiar faces on this call who are involved. I'll hold off naming names, but the origins of this group go back to 2015. And we were sort of the first working committee within the Stoneham CDC. We use a shared and collaborative approach in that we are working with elected officials in Stoneham. We are working with the members of the business community. We're working with longtime residents, new residents. We have a transportation professional who sits on the committee. We build relationships with regional organizations like the MAPC, but we also work very closely and we're integrated with just about every state agency that you could imagine. So DCR, because of how close we are to Middlesex Bells, Mass DOT, MWRA. We work very closely with our elected officials, Mike Day and Jason Lewis. We've advocated in front of the MBTA sort of governing board. So this is a very a collaborative organization where we are pushing forward multimodal transportation solutions for all in Stoneham. Some of the accomplishments since we formed as a group a few years ago include extending the hours of the service hours of the 132 bus. We supported the Complete Streets initiative within Stoneham. We've been honored with 2 Massachusetts APA, which is a planning organization, our social advocacy award for the work that we did for social advocacy, and also citizen planning, just that sort of grassroots citizen planning that this group is really well known for. I have another, hold on, excuse me while I just flip my page here. Some of the bigger picture items. So we meet monthly, right? Thursdays, 8 to 9:30. We typically followed a pretty structured agenda. There's 5 or 6 items that we continually circle through, because these types of solutions that were coming up for Stoneham are long-term. Very rarely is there, something that we talk about that 25 days later, there's a solution for it. These are long-term, not always infrastructure, but these are long-term solutions that we are driving forward. So maintaining service levels on the existing bus lines that go through town, extending the 99. That is one of our first initiatives, and we're not going to let up on that until we actually see that bus service extended from its current terminus point, and also developing a east-west solution. Right now, that doesn't really exist. We've been looking for support from the MBTA on that, but I can give a little bit of an update on where we think that might be going in terms of options that we're looking at. Let me give you a flavor of 4 or 5 things that we've been talking about at some of our recent meetings. So as some of you may know, we're in a pandemic, and I might add that this is my least favorite pandemic so far. I don't know about you all, where you stand on your voting, but this is my least favorite pandemic so far. And, you'd have to be living under a lily pad to not know that the MBTA has cut services across the board. The ferry, the bus, the MBTA, the high-speed rail, for what it is here in this region. So there have been service cuts that predate. The reason those have come into play is that they predate the pandemic. It's a funding issue. We've got basic infrastructure issues, but the pandemic aggravated those. So there's been service cuts across the board. We have, in the past year, been in touch with the MBTA and let them know, as well as through our elected officials, let them know where we stand in terms of getting back to those service levels once, I don't want to say the pandemic is over, but once we're on the after times, right? So that we can get back to having those service levels. What we don't want to see is that the service levels get cut and then everybody has to live with a lesser level of service. So that's one of the things that we've been working very directly with the MBTA on. We continue, again, our transportation official, we continue to follow those service updates at large, but also very specifically to how we'd be impacted in Stoneham. Another example of a project that we have been, that is takes time and requires patience, is a feasibility study at Spot Pond to look at what would be involved to putting a full path around Spot Pond. So we're at the very early stages of that. And again, this is being run by the town, but of course we're working very closely with the town to see where this feasibility study goes. What we have right now is that we being the town, have secured funds to hire a consultant to write the RFP. Right, so that's where we're at right now. We have funds to hire a consultant to write the RFP. Then that will get sent out. People will respond to that. Then you'll hire a consultant to look at the feasibility of building a path around Spot Pond. So again, this is a long play, right? There's so many agencies involved, right? Because it is DCR land. There's a butters, right? There's multiple municipalities involved. So this isn't just a couple of civil engineers and some conservation agents just walking out there and saying, yes or no, we can build a path around this. This takes some intention and some thought. Another project that has just recently surfaced is, and this is, STAC has been brought into the fold in this, but this is really a larger regional project underway being led by the MAPC, which is the, I'm going to get the acronym wrong, but it is the Metropolitan Regional Planning Commission or group for the Boston metro area, it's MAPC. They are looking at also the feasibility, but the likelihood of connecting a number of different greenways, trails, paths, et cetera. So they want to basically connect like Malden and Stoneham and Wakefield. There's, as you all know, we have the Tri-Community Greenway, but it sort of has a beginning and an end point. And what the MAPC is doing is taking a step back and saying, okay, north of Boston, right, you get out of Boston, what does it look like? Where are all these paths? Where do our start and end points? And how do we just keep connecting them, right? Medford and Malden and Stoneham, what's happening up in Woburn? How do you get that up to the Reading and the Wakefield area? And I can't speak for them. I'm not managing that project. I've been extended the invitation to sit in on those planning discussions. This is a very long-term initiative. These types of transportation planning projects take an incredible, it's very much a long view for these. But this is one of the projects that we have that we're involved in. And then the last one is far more recent. And I know some of this is very dry, but I want to make sure everybody knows the types of things that we're pushing forward as a group. Most recently, we submitted a proposal for some earmarks. And basically, we had to think about, okay, well, what would be projects that would benefit the most in Stoneham, right? The most people, the most businesses, the most students, the most residents, et cetera. What would be those projects that we think would bring the most value to Stoneham? What would those projects look like? Who would they benefit? And how much funding would we need? So we put together, again, the STAC community did this. We had a couple of quick meetings where we brainstormed and I submitted that information. I pulled that information together with the work of 10 or 12 of us. And we had 3 proposals that we put forth. We wanted to hire a consultant to look at this east-west shuttle. I mentioned that a few minutes ago, where we know that this is sort of a gap in our transportation. If you want to get in and around town without having to use your car, without having to use the ride, without having to call an Uber, how do I do that? How do I do that transportation? Maybe through shared transportation. So we said we would like funding to look at the feasibility of route planning, but also how it might also connect some of the towns in and around us. So that's one project. Another project that we put forth was mobility enhancements in and around town. And so that's a very nice broad category. It might be bike racks, it might be bus shelters, it might be a bike maintenance station on the Greenway where there's a pump and there's tools in case if you're out with your family and riding bikes and you need to make some repairs along the way. It might be parklets, it might be benches throughout town, so that if we have members of our community who are at a doctor's or at CVS picking up a prescription and they need to wait for their ride to show up, they've got a comfortable place to sit in the shade for the ride. So we're calling those mobility enhancements. It's a nice broad term. And then the third project that we proposed, which is actually going to be a great segue into the next part of our discussion when we're done with Q&A, is to look at some traffic calming measures. So, the community within Stoneham is changing. We're lots of families, people want to walk. We've got bicycles in use, whether they're commuting or running errands or simply out for exercise to get some fresh air. But I think regardless of whether it's Stoneham or anywhere within this region, drivers are kind of crazy, right? And without some traffic calming measures in place, pedestrians are at risk, those riding their bikes are at risk, maybe skateboarders or scooters, et cetera. So one of the projects that we proposed was some funding to hire a consultant or an organization to consider some of maybe the high traffic areas, the high foot traffic or high bicycle traffic areas, and what are some methods and techniques and traffic calming methods that we could put into place to sort of ease the emotion, ease the aggressiveness, and that might be raise speed bumps. We don't know what that will be, and that's why we would hire someone to facilitate us through that process using that funding. Earmarks are not guaranteed. If you've followed the political process in the United States at any given time, earmarks were good, and then they were bad, and then they were good. And in any case, they're never guaranteed. Organizations like ours just make these requests, and we might get part of the money, we may get no money, we might have to propose next year. But that's our tax dollars at work. They're called earmarks. So I'm going to open it up to questions, or if anybody that has joined that is on the STAC committee, if I've left off noteworthy advocacy work that we've done, I would love for you to jump in or make a comment, but I'm open to questions and hopefully I'll have answers.
Hey, Lori, so I have a really good question about a crosswalk or something from the Greenway crosses Main Street near Walgreens. I don't know if we know anything about that, but I think you might be the best person to ask.
So I don't have, are you saying what would it take to get one there, Jessica? Or what's it like? I'm not.
So someone has a question about getting a safer way to get across Main Street from the Greenway where it crosses near Walgreens, and they're not, it's Rachel, she's not wrong. It's very hard and it's kind of a zigzag thing. Do you know of if there's any plans to make that safer, or is that kind of just what we're stuck with?
Yeah, well, I'm never one to say, I'm sort of like Steve in that way, right? I'm never one to say, well, this is what we're stuck with, right? This is why there's 25 of us on this group call tonight, because we care about our community that we live within. I will get the information and I will follow up with, just make sure that I have the contact information for start paying attention to both the video and the chat at the same time. But I can raise that with Erin Wortman, who's in the planning department within the town, just sort of have a better understanding of what's going on there, how frequently that's been raised as an issue. It'll probably go before the traffic commission. These are the types of things that go in front of the traffic commission.
Lori, we have Dolly Wilson and Joan Lemire on the call, who are both on the Greenway committee. Do you want to have some history on that?
Yeah.
You want to share?
Technically, I'm still both of them.
Technically, I'm still chairman of the Greenway Committee for another 3 days until they break it up at town meeting on Monday. I can give some background on how that crossing got to be the way that it was. Originally, the MassDOT plans actually wanted people to go all the way up to William Street and cross there, which we knew was going to be a compliance issue, which is why they switched it to Elm. The issue is that we need better signage because the original rail trail, the railroad went through the parking lot at Farm Hill. And when they closed the railroad, they sold off that land. That is private property. The town does not own it. They cannot run a path through there. And so the official trail does go down Central to Elm and then back up Maine. And the issue is that people are jaywalking. It's marked that they're not supposed to be jaywalking. But MassDOT will never agree to change that because they're not going to have a mid-block crosswalk 40 feet from a light on a four-lane highway. I can tell you right now, it will never happen. I think we can get better signage and maybe some better, like wider sidewalk, or I think there might be other things that we could do to make it safer for people to cross, but they're probably not going to change where the crossing is. It would be extremely unlikely.
I don't have anything to add.
Hey, this is Anthony. Anthony Wilson. I put this in the chat. The town has about $300,000 for, well, it will have $300,000 for traffic light improvements at Main and Elm and Main and William. It may also include Central and Elm. That was part of the Eversource project, and once Eversource goes through, those funds will be given to the town. I would work with the DPW and the town planner to make sure that when that money is put to use, that the crossings are a key part of that. I mean, I would think they would anyway, but everything, getting involved for everything from timing to how the signals are placed to signage, I think that would be important. but those are very old. I think they're 1980s lights. They don't have the safety stuff for when the emergency vehicles come through or the lights change. They have very limited, they're not synced. They have very limited controls. So we built that into the project. And then
Great. Thank you, Anthony.
I was just going to say the second comment, and I'm sure you probably know this, but you mentioned traffic calming. Don't forget about the Downtown Complete Streets initiative that was done a number of years ago, which hasn't had the opportunity to move forward very far. But the whole goal was to implement pedestrian safety and traffic calming in the downtown area. And there's actually a preliminary design for that needs an engineering design to move anywhere. I think we passed some, if I recall, we passed some funding for it, but we didn't pass enough funding to do that engineering study. But some work has already been done, at least in the direct downtown area for that type of thing.
Great, thank you for that, Anthony. I'm making some notes about that.
That's on the website, and Aaron knows about it, obviously.
This is Joan. I think all those are good ideas, but I wanted to mention one other intersection, which is we've been trying to, people in my neighborhood, I live south of town, have been trying to get the light at Marble and Maine to be fixed. Everyone thought it belonged to the state and the state was in charge until recently. And it actually belongs to the town to fix that light. And it's a very busy intersection and it's a lot of kids crossing. And so that one should not be forgotten in this story. Like I said, everyone thought that it was up to the DOT to fix it, and it's not.
Because the school's there, you might look at complete street funds for something like that.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
It probably just, it needs like a new light and new timing and stuff like that that allows people to turn left and, or go straight. It's just, it needs like a reorganization. I doubt if it even needs expanding. It just needs attention. And I'm sure it needs new lights because they're pretty old.
Something more modern.
Streetlights cost an extortionate amount of money. We were sort of astounded at how much they charge for a streetlight.
Yeah, the 300,000 I mentioned is not going to fully replace all those lights that we talked about. It may actually replace some of the internal electronics and add timing, but that's about it. It's amazing how much they cost.
And Dolly, you mean traffic lights, not street lights, right? Or did you mean
traffic lights? Yeah. Crossing, both, even just crossing lights, but also particularly overhead signals like that are hundreds of thousands of dollars, which kind of astounded everybody in the committee. It was like, we're not quite sure why they're as complicated as they are.
Computer chips, most likely.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why maybe 25 years ago it was, but it seems like now they should cost less than they do.
Something that might cost a lot less, and I think is really ought to be done, is Wright Street and Maple Street, where Jenny lives. They are people go flying through those signs all the time, and in Medford and in Winchester, where I drive all the time, they have these lovely stop signs that have flashing red lights on the 8 corners of the octagon, and they're really quite effective. And I suspect that they're nowhere near paying for a street light. And so, I mean, maybe it just needs to be on the ones on Maple Street. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, but I think if you looked at the statistics, there's a lot of accidents there, and that seems easy to me.
There have been fewer during the pandemic, but I've also wondered here about having one of the radar speed signs, because it's a hill. When you come down Maple, you come over the hill, and people, even myself, I'm always ready my brake because you're inevitably speeding when you get to the stop sign. And I feel like if you had a radar speed sign there, it would also is another option. There was a private question that came to me, since we have our Greenway folks on the committee, since you mentioned that it's being dissolved finally at community meeting. Is there a plan for a replacement of that committee, or?
It was a purpose-built committee, if that makes any sense. So the mandate was to aid the town in creating a linear park and greenway, which we did. And so we actually haven't met since we dedicated the greenway. They were going to do this last May, and they obviously didn't because they didn't really have town meeting. So it's largely a formality. And then Lucky Steve will probably be the the person that people will talk to. So it'll be up to, you know, the town administrator and the rec department as to, like any other park, what like for permission to use it and that kind of thing.
Okay, that's really valuable information, actually, that it'll go straight through rec. Steve, you're the
Yes, I think I'll be the one who will be handling any questions and stuff like that. Obviously, the town administrator will be involved with some of it, but considering it is a linear park, as it would fall under my jurisdiction. So,
and I know that there has kind of been discussions as we're working on the picnic project and doing cleanups and stuff, is that do we have sufficient town budget to maintain our section of the greenway, and is there or any advocacy that needs to be done or work?
So I said that's a question. I said I could get answers for everyone. I said that town administrator would have the answers for that, because I say it wasn't something that is through my budget, through my department, but it would come through DPW. I said in terms of how that is getting maintained, and obviously during the winter we don't plow, we don't do that. I said it's shut down. I said during the winter, unless you want to use it for snowshoeing or different winter sports types of activities. But I said the DPW does try to empty the trash barrels and stuff. This kind of falls under their purview, but in terms of anything organized, it would kind of fall under the rec department to make sure that things were coordinated properly. So,
yeah, from a maintenance perspective, the one thing I'd say would be nice to get it mowed. And it's not going to get mowed every week. You know, it's not a park, but last year it was taller than me in places. So it would be nice if like once a month they could get through there.
Nathan, did you want to ask any more questions about that? About the greenway? That answered the question.
Yeah, no, that was great. Thank you, Dottie and Joan. That was great. That was helpful. So,
any additional questions for staff? Or again, we meet the first Thursday of every month. Feel free to share your email or email me at stack@stonehamcdc.org. We have a consistent group of about 12 to 15 people. We meet the first Thursday of every month at 8 a.m. We'd love to see more of you there. All right, Nathan, I think we're transitioning.
all right. So I'll pick up. Hello, everybody. I'm Nathan Kuntz, newest board member. Mike Bertina and I have been working on something that we're proposing for later this year in September, October timeframe. I apologize. It doesn't sound like bedtime in my household's going very well. So if we get interrupted, please bear with me. So what we're proposing is a bike weekend to help raise awareness throughout Stoneham. I know that we're going to need to likely from the recent discussion, get Steve involved as much as possible in this. I know you're a busy man, Steve. I've seen the work down at the town hall, so I'm not gonna jump on you right now. So I think yeah, we'll definitely be in contact. So but what we're proposing here is we put some target dates out for the end of September, trying to avoid conflicting with Town Day with rain dates the weekend after. Again, this is all assuming that assuming COVID has put us, we're all kind of in a place where a gathering is likely and able to happen. So there's really three things that we're really focusing on for this event, and it's to bike safety, bike maintenance, and some sort of community ride. So we have this great resource, the Tri-Community Greenway, that I know myself and some of you on the call like to get out there with the kids and ride around and use the Greenway, and it's a really great resource. Unfortunately, sometimes getting to the Greenway is not the most comfortable ride. So I think bike safety and is really paramount, so that we know how to ride safely to the Greenway and through the streets of Stoneham. Also raising awareness of bikes being on the streets. And then bike maintenance. So how do we maintain our bikes? How do we make sure that they're in tip-top shape so we can really take to the Greenway? So we're identifying these 2 days to have it separated for a bike safety aspect for kids and adults, and the second part of the event being something about maintaining your bike. And then on the second day, we take to the Greenway, or we ride through town. So really, the focus is those 3 things, and potentially raising some funds and having a fundraiser during this event so that we can get some bike related improvements. Similar to what Lori was speaking to with Stack, right? So things that we could get on the Greenway in other areas. Maybe it's a nice new bike rack that's going to go really nicely with that brand new playground over at Capon Street Tot Lot, something like of that nature. So Mike, jump in if I'm missing anything here too.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's Nathan, you did a great job of hitting it all. We wanted to do a little bit of make sure there was some opportunities in the community for bike safety. Hopefully by then the overall situation in the world will be such that we can, get outside in a group and do stuff together, and be able to get outside on a nice fall day and go over some safety course stuff. We're reaching out to a couple different organizations about who could provide some of this. And then, as Nathan mentioned, the afternoon would be sort of a bike maintenance part, which is also an aspect of bike safety too. You can't, ride your bike safely if it's going to be falling apart on you. So, learning how to take care of it and upkeep it is a good thing too. And we're trying to work with, obviously City Cycle is something that probably popped into everybody's mind. So we're already reaching out to them and a couple other organizations as well to see what we can do for that. So, and then Sunday, because we want to have this be a fun thing, bikes are fun. Being out and riding your bike is a whole bunch of fun. So, we all want to get out and have some fun on it. And then hopefully Sunday, we can have a nice community ride and enjoy pedaling around and maybe even have a couple smaller related events to that. We'll see if there's something that can be done maybe in the way for some food or something along those lines around there as well. That's all I got at the moment.
Yeah. So there's a couple organizations that we've reached out to that Mike has reached out to, and we've collaboratively gone after is we've reached out to the Stoneham Police Department. I know they've done events in the past that are very similar, right? Safety and maintenance that they've done for the Boy Scouts, and so it's an opportunity where they've shown interest, and also Mike has been communicating with Mass Bike as well. So there's definitely, to his point, there's an opportunity to have some of this be professionally done with some classes that are both the police department and Mass Bike. So one thing that would be is helpful to really make this event possible and really make it the best possible event we can is similar to a lot of other things that we do at the CDC is volunteers. Volunteers really make it happen. So having people come together and to help us with planning and organizing and even working the bike events. If you know how to maintain a bike, if you have equipment to offer while we are doing this event to help with kids and adults, oil the chain on their bike, then yeah, we'll welcome you with open arms. Or 6 feet away, but we'll welcome you in any situation. So yeah, if you're interested, please don't hesitate to reach out at info@stonehamcdc.org, and you'll be able to get in touch with both Mike and myself. Any questions, comments? All right. So I think I'm gonna send it back over to Jenny here.
Sorry, I have one question.
Oh, I'm backing up.
Yeah,
Hey, Matt.
sorry. Hey, I think sounds like a great idea, and I think it would be really awesome for a lot of the families in the community. And I think a lot of the families that live in our town probably don't attend the CDC meetings or maybe even get the emails. So have you thought about ways to promote, especially maybe like getting people to bring their kids' bikes out, make sure everything's adjusted, make sure everybody's safe? Have we thought about ways to reach out through other channels, like through maybe like school mailing lists and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We've definitely discussed ways of trying to get the message out there. But yeah, that's a great point. I know that we've initially, even for this event, we kind of tried something where we put some flyers out on the Greenway and different picnic areas to capture more people to come to the event that might not know about the Stoneham CDC. So I think you're right. You're right on, Matt. I don't know, Jenny, if you have anything else to add there, but yeah.
Whoops. Yes, we can absolutely reach out to the schools. We do have our planning committee for Stoneham Reads has been fantastic on the promotional side and built in a lot of new relationships for us. So I think as long as this theme fits in with the work they're doing, that we can go back through a lot of those channels to get the word out. But Matt, as you mentioned, communications is something that we're really focusing on in the organization. And so volunteers that have any experience or just time or desire to help us out with this are very much welcomed. Because some of it is, we have a lot of great ideas about who to reach out to, but it just takes time to get the word out. And so the more people involved, the better.
All right, I'm gonna send it over to you, Jenny.
So as Nathan mentioned, things are getting better and we might be able to get together in person to work on projects. We do have an event coming up this weekend. It is the community cleanup on Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. And so everyone is welcome to join us. We're meeting at the gazebo on the town common at 9 a.m. Come dressed to get dirty and bring your own gloves if you have them, but we'll have trash bags and things for picking up trash. The focus is going to be spreading out in groups around the Main Street area, kind of depending on the number of people as far as we can go, maybe doing some sections of the Greenway as well, and just doing a big trash cleanup of the town, trying to get things looking sparkly clean for the summertime. And as I mentioned earlier, our newest project, Stoneham Reads, the first book groups are meeting starting May 11th. If you don't know about the project yet, you're not too late. The book is a pretty quick read, and we have groups that are meeting once or up to 2 times, meeting between mid-May and mid-June. Now I kind of wanted to open it up for feedback and other ideas if folks, well, I'll let Nathan actually talk about membership again.
Sorry, I think I slid a slide in there. Yeah, if you're really interested in getting involved, I know Lauren and I are super ready to answer your emails and really pumped to send you a new membership package. So if you're looking to get involved and you want to, vote on the board and work with the board members more frequently, then please visit us at membership@stoneham.cdc.org or email us at membership@cdc.org or visit us at stonehamcdc.org. And yeah, we'll gladly answer any questions that you might have. And lastly, we've got the little help wanted sign there, but we're seeking new board members. So if you're interested in being a board member and helping us facilitate some of these great projects, and please go to Stoneham CDC website and click on the link and you can learn more about the board membership and you can apply, and that's gonna go right to our committee, and they'll get in touch and they'll work through the whole process with you. So yeah, and now I'm gonna send it back over to Jenny.
Yes. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for everyone who's contributed so far tonight. I just saw a great idea come through a chat here from Betty Chu prior about doing a bike swap at the bike event. That's a great idea. I want to invite folks now, and we can continue to talk and chat. We can also unmute if folks have some ideas, any feedback on what we've discussed tonight, any questions about what the CDC does, or any ideas for projects that you would like help getting started in the community.
Can I just ask what, do we really think we're having Town Day? I think it's reasonably possible, but are people gung ho about it, or thinking, oh, maybe we can manage it?
I missed the last board meeting, but so I don't know if they talked about it, but they would like to do it. They just don't know where things are going to stand.
I was also, while I'm simultaneously multitasking and listening to this and the Board of Selectmen meeting. And so the health inspector, the state just issued a lot of new guidance today. So I suspect by September, you can have a pretty substantially large event outside. I think there'll probably still be, there'll have to be some kind of capacity limits, but I suspect they probably will end up having some kind of Town Day. They've issued stuff like you can have a parade with 50% capacity, which I don't understand how you would decide what 50% capacity for a Memorial Day parade would be. So we're working on that one too. That's going to be an adventure.
The car parades from Stoneham Rec, by the way, have been a huge hit at my house, especially since we get a front row view on Wright Street, Steve. So I wanted to, the town parades this last year. Some of these things might be here to stay, right? Even if after the pandemic ends.
I'll say, personally, from a rec department, I would love to get back to doing the egg hunt on the town common. It was such a great experience for people. I said that's something I would love to, but it doesn't mean I said the buddy won't be driving around maybe randomly here and there. I know that the chamber was interested in doing Santa around town again next year. So I do think that some of the stuff might stay. It might not look exactly the same as it has the last couple of years. I think I would like to go back to some of the old traditions that we started to develop, but no, I think that some of the stuff has actually been a great experience to be able to kind of really enhance what we do. So I think a lot of the stuff will be here to stay.
I have a question to raise. This might be like a separate conversation, but for doing the little photo booth at the farmer's market at the end of the summer, had you guys ever thought about doing almost like a volunteer pay type of thing where that could go towards some type of fundraising? Like that's pretty much what I did with the Front Steps project for the photography, was pay whatever you want and 100% of it goes to charity. And people tended to be pretty generous. So I don't know if you guys had considered doing the photo booth and saying, listen, it's free, but if you wanted to donate whatever, $5, $20, $50, whatever, it will go to, whether it's a specific project or just kind of the CDC in general. Just an idea.
Thank you, Rachel, for bringing that up. And actually, this is a great place to let folks know that Rachel Nampola who is a town photographer here, has volunteered her services to do a photo booth at our farmers market table. And I don't know if anybody has the date up. We're there, I think, third week of August, the 19th, August 19th
or 20th.
And I appreciate that. I think we hadn't figured out the details, but I think in my mind, I did have something in mind along those lines, as having people doing a donation based or making it free, but allowing people to make donation in relation to it. But we'll definitely be promoting that. So put it on your calendar so you can come get a fun late summer picture at the farmer's market. But I love that you brought that up as well, that we can think of people might think of their own unique services and talents they might be able to provide, that we could do something similar.
Yeah.
It's donation based.
Or even like raffling, like, so I'm part of the CDC with the photography and also Salem 5 Bank. And a lot of the things that we do, you know, we've had a table at the farmer's market before or other random events, and we will do like a little gift basket of just random giveaway items like a Salem 5 mug, or, you know, people go crazy for that stuff. So if there are other businesses around town that would want to do, it's like almost like a silent auction kind of thing, but not necessarily people bidding, but just like a raffle of sorts of like, you know, we're offering this basket of physical items, or we're offering some kind of free service or whatever, and people can kind of just donate a little bit of money, and then they get their name entered in the raffle to win whatever the item may be. People go crazy for that stuff. It's like you have no idea. A Salem 5 coffee mug, people will donate like $10 for this mug, where it's like you could just buy the mug and it's probably way less than that. And you know, people obviously love donating because it helps out the community, and
I think that's great as we think about Town Day, the farmers market tables, Town Day and Bike Week, having the raffle opportunities as part of the fundraiser. And we'll see, as Joan, you brought up, if Town Day is happening, but if the dunk tank will fit in with the health guidance. I think with the dose of Clorox that we give it, we should be in.
Yeah, that is actually a calculated number from the I don't know, the water board or something, that a cup of chlorine bleach is the right amount for the dunk tank. I was going to say we've been reserving the dunk tank in June. And so maybe somebody ought to write that down, and I owe you all kinds of information about people to contact and stuff.
And for those of you who don't know, Joan is our former CDC president and one of the founding members, and Dolly here as well. But Joan, do you want to volunteer to be on the Town Day Dunk Tank Committee for the CDC?
I will seriously think about it. I will seriously think about it, okay?
And Joan, I'll be the first to offer my services to go in the dunk tank. I'll be the first person to volunteer.
Steve has been one of the regular and highly profitable dunkies. So,
Steve,
coaches are the biggest moneymakers.
Sorry.
The more coaches you can talk into it, the better, because their entire teams line up to dunk them in the water. So they were always by far the biggest.
Little league are very good. Yeah.
Yes.
Little league players.
Yeah, I have the old list, but we could always add some more people too.
Anyone else want to share anything or have any questions? Was there anything that you wanted to hear about tonight that we didn't discuss, or you thought that we would discuss? So I hear some screams in the background at my house too. It looks like bedtime is a little later this evening. I wanted to thank everyone for your participation tonight. I see a lot of great conversation happening in chat too, which will be saved. So so that we can follow up on any questions, email addresses, or anything that's left here. And I do encourage you to reach out to us at info@Stoneham CDC if you have any further questions. I wanted to mention when we talked about folks volunteering and getting involved with the Cape and Street Lot project, we talked a lot about fundraising and promotional work. You don't have to have any experience doing this to get involved and to be helpful. So if you're feeling like, I really don't know about asking if I can ask for money or if I want to be part of fundraising, don't let that hold you back if you want to be a part of the project, because we're here to help guide you and make it a fun experience and make it accessible for everybody who wants to be involved. So last plug for membership, join the Stoneham CDC, become one of our members. Your membership dues support all the work we do as an organization. We don't have any paychecks, very little overhead to pay, so it goes right towards the projects that we're working on. And thank you all. Have a great night. Any other board members, anybody want to hop on and say anything? Sign up for volunteer for Bike Week, Cape and Street projects, come to a stack meeting. Join the CDC, let us know if you're interested in being a board member. And hopefully our next meeting may be in person, or it might be a hybrid event with some Zoom accessibility as well. We're gonna look into how those are gonna work for the rest of the year. Yeah. See you on Saturday morning at the cleanup. It's gonna be a beautiful sunny day. Night, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Night.
Great.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, I think we're starting.